have with us a bunch of tax experts joining in. The first GST Council meeting under the new NDA government will be held on the 22nd of June. Sources tell us that the Fitment Committee will study Oil Ministry's proposal to bring aviation fuel and natural gas under the GST regime as well. Simplification of rules will be likely on the agenda, along with the likely discussion on ease of doing business measures. So, to discuss all of this, we have with us Mr. M.S. Mani, who's a partner GST at Deloitte India, and Bipin Sapra, who's a tax partner at EY, joining in as well. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in. Mr. Mani, remember long conversations we used to have around, the GST when it first happened. And now, there is another meeting which is underway. What are your key expectations from what is there on the agenda, and what do you think would be the biggest benefit?
Look, I think the rate rationalization exercise has been due since a very long time. And I'm mentioning this because that is something on which there was a committee formed, and that committee has submitted its report. So essentially, they need to look at the report submitted. A lot of work has been done by Fitment Committee and Law Committee on that particular report. So it's something which, to my mind, is ready for implementation. That will significantly contribute to the ease of doing business that you were mentioning. And we have been discussing this. I mean, you rightly said we have been discussing this for quite some time. But I think that the fact that collections have stabilized, GST has now become a very accepted tax going by the number of returns filed, the number of taxpayers registered, etc. This is the right time to start looking at, do we really need so many rates? Is it not complicating things, too much? Can't we change the rates and merge maybe two rates into one? This is absolutely the right time to do that. Also, as you said, this is possibly the right time to take the states on board and address their figures of an erosion of their revenue if petroleum products move to GST. And it can be a 2-stage, 3-stage process because the products that impact them greatly are petrol and diesel. The collections from them are very significant for virtually all the states. So they can possibly come at a later point of time. And we could possibly stagger this by saying, let's do natural gas first because it impacts fewer states. Then let's do aviation turbine fuel maybe after 6 months. And then let's do petrol and diesel maybe after a year. But time is right for these two major changes which have been on the anvil since a very long time. There are also various clarifications which are required on various issues that people have been talking of. Those, to my mind, are relatively minor in terms of scale because it may impact some businesses, some industries, etc. But overall, if you look at India business as a whole, they will be greatly benefited if we have fewer rates and if we have petroleum products with a plan as to what product moves into the GST ambit in what period of time.
Absolutely. Mr. Mani, thanks for those opening thoughts. Let's bring in Bipin Sapra of EY as well. Bipin, your thoughts on how this can perhaps be approached. This has been a long-standing demand to bring petroleum products within the GST ambit. If gas is brought in, then at what rate do you think it will be most apt? And any indication of the kind of savings that perhaps consumers in the chain can have because they will be able to finally claim input tax credit?
I fully agree with you that, and what Mani was saying, that this needs to be brought in. It has been a long-standing demand. There has been a lot of break in the credit chain. The problem here is that the oil and oil products are the biggest source of revenue today. They would, since they have been outside the GST, their revenue has really been also very buoyant. And while the GST revenue has been buoyant, because the oil revenue has been buoyant, the entire indirect tax revenue has done very well. Now the rate, Sonia, you asked that this needs to be, what would be the rate for the gas? I think it's going to be a huge issue if they are just going to turn around and do a revenue neutral rate. It's going to be it'll need to be really looked at. But given that natural gas is something which can be brought in, given that there is a lot of B2B consumption also, and ATF is something which has been a low-hanging fruit for a long time. There needs to be a consensus to bring it, and 5% would be, I think, a good way to begin with. So these are some things which need to be debated. my view here on as an opening remark would also be that apart from these things, there would be a lot of other things which the industry would be looking at, and some of these are the lot of litigations which have happened out there in the last couple of in the last 1 year or so because of time limit of demands coming in. So there would be some solutions which the government may come up with to really solve all of that.
Right. Mr. Mani, what about the gaming space? We understand that online gaming, GST rate, discussion on online gaming, and this is strictly online gaming, nothing to do with casinos or offline gaming, where the 28% is, already there on the face value of chips at entry, which is something that was clarified by a correspondent. On online gaming, what are your expectations here, and what do you think can change?
See, it depends on the agenda that they build for this meeting, because this meeting is coming, I guess, after almost 9 months after the previous. If my memory serves me right, the last meeting was in first week of October 23. And after October 23, we have not had a meeting till now. So possibly the first thing we need to wait and watch is, does online gaming fit into the agenda? Because there are a lot of things to be discussed. And if online gaming were to fit into the agenda, it is something which the operators will be very happy. It certainly requires a clarification. There's no doubt on that. We certainly need clarity on the business. But we have to bear in mind that when you look at the scope and structure that the GST Council has to take up, if we are going to talk rate rationalization, if we are going to talk petroleum products, etc., then possibly online gaming instead of this meeting may get taken up in the next meeting. Or in this meeting, it may get taken up. There may not be a consensus and they may defer the decision to the next meeting. But at a broad level, there is certainly a need to have complete clarity on what happens to the online gaming business. Because A, it's a big tax contributor, B, it's a big revenue generator, and C, it is a global phenomenon. So we can't keep online gaming out of the country by taxation measures.
Fair enough, but also this has gone all the way to the Supreme Court, right? Because of the GST notices that were sent, and obviously the company is challenging it. So not sure, Bipin, if you could comment on this, do you expect any discussion even on online gaming? Because I think the whole contention was that on what value are the rate, which is 28%, and then on what value, where in the chain will you apply that rate when it comes to online gaming? And the stance that was taken was that it has to be on the full value of the playing amount.
Yes, spot on, Sonia. And
Surabhi, sir, this is Surabhi here. Sonia not with us on the show today.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Yes, sir.
So when this tax came in October, it was going to be reviewed in 6 months' time, and at the end of 6 months, because the election process was on and there was no GST Council meeting, they have deferred it to now or maybe in the next council meeting. I think the need for the industry is imperative, and the value on which it has been implemented was going to be the gross gaming revenue, the GGR, but they went ahead and did it on deposit, really putting a lot of pressure on the margins which these companies make, which has impacted the investments and how these companies are growing in the market. So I think the government and the industry has been representing for this to bring back the valuation at a rate which is commensurate with how other countries value such goods, and it should be the gross gaming revenue. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in and giving us a lowdown on what one can expect, what are the possibilities, what could perhaps happen. But we will leave you at that, and with a promise to reconnect with us post the GST Council meet that takes place, and thereafter with all the clarity that we will have as to what has come out of that meeting itself. But